Hey guys, I had a great experience today. I went to Palmetto Youth Academy and shared some stories. Now normally I do the stories without the book, but today we were talking about our favorite books. And since November is National Picture Book Month, I brought some of my favorite picture books. And this is one of them. Mrs. Chicken and the Hungry Crocodile by Ronald E. Pay and Margaret H. Lippett, illustrated by Julie Pashkus. Now I tell a version of the story, an adapted version, out loud without the book, but I'm going to share the picture book with you today because I think you're really going to like it. It's an excellent version to try if you want to try telling this story yourself. So here we go. Mrs. Chicken and the Hungry Crocodile. One morning, Mrs. Chicken took her bath in a puddle. "Bawk, bawk," she said. "Oh, what a pretty chicken I am. Big, bright eyes and short, smooth beak. But, oh, this puddle is too small. I can't see my wings." She walked down to the river to get a better look. She didn't know that Crocodile lay in the river all day long, just waiting for her dinner. Mrs. Chicken leaned out over the water. She said, "I still can't see my wings. I see scaly green legs and a long mouth with sharp teeth. But where is my beak?" Crocodile lay very still and waited. "Yum, yum," she thought. "That's my dinner." "I look different in the river," thought Mrs. Chicken. She turned her head to one side. Crocodile turned her head to that side too. She turned her head the other way, and Crocodile turned her head that way too. "I'd like a closer look," said Mrs. Chicken. And she stepped into the river. Snap! Crocodile grabbed Mrs. Chicken's foot. "Buck, buck, buck, buck! Let me go!" said Mrs. Chicken. But Crocodile shook her head, and she dragged Mrs. Chicken to her house on an island in the middle of the river. Then she slammed the door shut with her great tail, bonk, and she opened her mouth, and Mrs. Chicken flew up to the rafters. "Calm down," said Mrs. Crocodile. "I'm gonna eat you up." "Me?" said Mrs. Chicken. "You can't eat me." "Oh, yes, I can," said Crocodile. "But, Mrs. Chicken said, you shouldn't eat me." "Well, why not?" said Crocodile. Because you're my sister." "You're not my sister," said Mrs. Crocodile. "You have speckledy feathers, and I have green skin. You've got a short little beak, and I've got a long mouth with sharp teeth, and these sharp teeth, they're gonna eat you up." "No!" Mrs. Chicken said, "Look, I know that we don't look like sisters, but if you give me time, I can prove it to you." "All right," chuckled Crocodile. "I'll fatten you up a little bit. The longer I wait, the plumper you'll get." And with that, Crocodile curled around her eggs, and soon she was snoring. Well, Mrs. Chicken made her nest in an opposite corner, and she settled down to lay some eggs. And every day after that, Mrs. Chicken got a little bit of grain to eat for Mrs. Crocodile. And then they would fall asleep over their eggs. And every day, Mrs. Chicken got a little plumper and fatter. And every day, Crocodile got a little hungrier and a little skinnier, until finally, one evening, Crocodile said, "This is your last meal, because tomorrow morning is time for my big breakfast, Mrs. Chicken." Mrs. Chicken said, "Oh, well, we'll see." And she waited She waited until Crocodile was sleeping. Then she carefully put her eggs next to Crocodile, and she carefully took Crocodile's eggs back to her own nest. Just before dawn, Crocodile felt something move next to her.
Mrs. Chicken, she called, wake up! My babies are hatching! Wait a minute. Why do they have those silly little beaks and scrawny little wings? Why, they look like you.
My eggs are hatching too, Mrs. Crocodile, said Mrs. Chicken. She hopped up and she said, look!
Oh, said Crocodile, what beautiful little babies you have. Oh, what gorgeous green skin and what lovely long mouths. Oh, they're just little darlings. But, wait a minute. They look like me. I don't understand.
Well, and your babies look like me, said Mrs. Chicken. I told you we were sisters, and you almost ate me, your very own sister.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sister Chicken, said Crocodile.
I have an idea, said Mrs. Chicken. Since you like my babies so much, you can have them, and I'll take your funny-looking little babies instead.
Oh, thank you, Sister Chicken, said Crocodile.
Don't mention it, said Mrs. Chicken. Sisters help one another out. So they switched babies. Time for us to go home, Mrs. Crocodile, said Mrs. Chicken. And she and her babies climbed onto Mrs. Crocodile's back. And if you will believe it, they rode it all the way over to the other side of the river, and then they hopped off.
Bye-bye, Sister Chicken, said Mrs.
Crocodile. Mrs. Chicken waved her wing, and she hurried her little chickens up the bank. See you soon, said Crocodile. Mrs. Chicken looked back and she said, no, you won't. And she disappeared through the trees. Come along, babies. Walk, walk. And since that day, Mrs. Chicken and all of her children have always taken their baths in puddles. Because, said Mrs. Chicken, they are big enough for us, but too small for any crocodile. And that is the end of that.